This is just as bad as drugs.
On this episode of Business Boot Camp.
It's race time! Oh, the headband truck's good again! Let's go!
See, this is the F-450 everyone's ragging me on. I mean, you think it's a bad idea if I take on more debt?
I would.
Yeah.
You need to have a confessional right now, bro?
Yeah.
$300,000 of debt, $2,000 in the bank.
Oh, I didn't know that.
It's insanity.
Now I'm kind of in a pickle. How much of a chance do you give somebody?
You guys did very little jobs today. We need to pick up the pace. Was this a smart choice?
No, no.
60% of businesses will fail in their first 3 years. I'm Mike Andes, and I'm on a mission to fix this. I know the fear, and I felt their pain. For the next 30 days, these owners will be sweating it out while trying to avoid becoming another statistic on this season of Business Boot Camp.
Hola, ¿cómo estás?
Last week on Business Boot Camp, we caught up with Aaron from Arizona Yard Maintenance.
I would like, yourself to be able to understand the picture before I take your advice.
He was literally $300,000 in debt with only $2,000 in the bank account.
I might be broke, but I look like $1 million.
And running his entire business off of his reminders app of his iPhone.
The downfall in doing it this way is it kind of works off the honor system and it works off of my brain.
We talked about how we needed to get onto a CRM software system to be able to take the business to the next level.
With that being said, I looked into Jobber.
However, I don't think he's learned his lesson, and I caught up with him in person on this week's episode.
Yeah.
You need to have a confessional right now, bro?
Yeah.
And he's actually considering getting more debt.
No.
I have 9 guys working for me today, 2 different crews. What I'm doing today is basically hanging out with my daughter, getting prepared for a trip. I'm going to Kentucky, Louisville. I think that's how you pronounce it, for a equipment expo. I'm gonna fly out there tonight. Today I am a chaperone for my daughter's first field trip. If I didn't build things up in my business, I wouldn't be able to afford to do this. I wouldn't have the time. I'd be out there grinding like a lot of you guys, just trying to survive, I mean, I guess I'm trying to survive too, but what's nice is that I built up a business where I can rely on, other guys to run it for me. All I have to do is, about 45 minutes of paperwork at night, the night before, set out the schedule, gets done, I get paid. Flying into Louisville right now. I am in Louisville, Kentucky right now. We're staying at the house. I'm staying with Tigran Gertz, part of Goat Gang. We got a pool. I'm gonna try to talk Tigran into jumping in it. He's always talking about being primal and doing things that are uncomfortable. So.
Second drop, wait for the second drop.
We are on the way to the Equipment Expo. I am on a 92-foot boom lift. Thinking about purchasing this. I got this thing fully extended. The boom lift I have now goes 50 feet up. This is 92. I think I'm gonna sell my 50 foot, buy 92. I wanted to come down here to check out the different types of equipment and suppliers that are throughout the country. I just found this supplier, it's Jenkins Iron and Steel. It looks like they have some pretty good deals. We got this mini backhoe and thumb for $2,100 delivered to my door. Definitely a great find. Also looking for Mike Andes. I can't find him yet. I know that he stopped by the Goat Gang booth, made a nice video.
My ultimate nemesis.
Jobber, I know we were talking about prior, so where are we at on that?
My plan tonight was to start incorporating everything into Jobber tonight, but after consulting with a few people, I think that's a bad idea. I didn't bring a computer, so doing everything off of my phone could create some problems. I don't want to have any problems. I'd like everything to go seamlessly. I don't want to have duplicate accounts. So next week I'm going to dedicate a day.
Moving all over.
Just at my house, in my office.
Cool. And then so this week, obviously you came here. Who's managing the accounts now, and how are they done so far? Like using the past few days.
It's myself managing as far as putting out the schedule, and then I have my foreman. I send him to any of the difficult jobs that are just more complex that have to do with irrigation.
All right, so we're gonna break this down. Why do you think you need the big trucks? I want to go over this because I saw your comment on YouTube on one of my things. Yeah, we saw that.
Okay.
I want to go over that because I agree with you to some extent.
Okay.
And I disagree with you on some other extent. Walk me through your logic though on the trucks.
So that truck, I had already ordered that truck. So I've already wanted a F-450 truck. I figured it would be good for marketing purposes. Like, oh, this guy has his stuff together. He has like this, $100,000 truck. Like, just it puts your foot in the door as far as like credibility. In addition with everything else that they already may know about me. It has crash detecting. I know myself. I'm extremely busy. I'm on my phone, and I would like that alert, like, hey, you need to stop.
Yeah.
Beep, 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 beep.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and it actually did save my butt once.
Yeah.
And where I had to lock up the brakes because I was on my phone texting.
Yeah.
If I was driving my, F-350 truck that didn't have that, I could have rear-ended someone, hurt someone. That truck saved someone's life. So.
Oh man, I guess you could just not text and drive.
Yeah, but then I couldn't manage everything.
Okay, because like,
what do you think?
well, it's a lot of debt. And I understand our plan is like to grow out of it. I get that 100%. I'm just concerned in the meantime, like the next 12 months. I think if someone was doing say 1.5 million, I'd be okay, 300,000 in debt. I get that, right? Like even I was talking with Tigran yesterday, he said about $400,000 debt. That makes sense to me because he does 3-4 million plus. I'm concerned when there's that much debt and such little cash. And then my question is, from a marketing standpoint, could the $1,700 per month on that loan be spent on marketing and actually get more customers than the image that is currently using on the truck?
Yeah, I mean, it could. I weighed this back in my head too.
Yeah.
I feel like I purposely put myself under that stress or that struggle just to be uncomfortable and force myself to get ahead.
The only way in my mind is just growth, like massive growth. You'd said about 20 to 30% of your revenue now is from the project side, 70 to 80% of it is from the maintenance side. What was that like last year? Was it mostly maintenance and now you're really going after the projects? Is that kind of the goal?
I've always liked the bigger jobs. I've just had to rent the equipment to get those bigger jobs done, and then now I own the equipment versus renting it. But I've always kind of put myself so I don't have a lot of money in the bank.
Right.
That's how I've always been, and just like pushed it, right back towards the business to grow, and it's worked. But I know it's risky.
As long as you know it's risky, because it's extremely risky. Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I don't really have anything to say. It's scary to me, honestly. I don't do as well underneath that financial pressure as you do. It seems like you really put yourself there almost in order to force yourself to just keep kicking butt.
If you want to be here, you got to get something to be there.
Yeah, I would not be happy with that. There needs to be a spending freeze.
Last week on Business Bootcamp, we caught up with Dylan from Urban Roots Lawn Care in Tacoma, Washington.
Just feeling a bit frustrated by the scope of work this is turning into.
He's grown his business literally more than double over the past year. However, he's starting to outgrow his current garage and he needs to find shop space.
We're starting to monopolize the space out here. Don't think the neighbors probably appreciate it too much.
He also needs to learn a dependable way to get new customers and marketing his business online.
Got a chance to post a Performance Plus Max campaign, so we'll see how that does in the next few days.
Let's catch up with Dylan and see if he can't figure out these bottlenecks to the growth of his business.
First thing in the morning, get a text message that one of our employees is not going to be in today. I'm having car troubles. This is I think the third time in about 5 weeks he's not come in. I just tend to want to operate and just trust what people are telling me is legitimate. 3 times in 5 or 6 weeks of employment, that's kind of a lot to call in, I think. All right, I made it to the sod farm, JB Instant Lawn. We have a great product. 2.5 hours of driving to pick up less than 100 square feet of sod. Such a bummer. I think I've learned my lesson on measuring, but looks like it's all gonna fit. All right, we've arrived at the job site. A couple little things to get buttoned up here. Got this section we have to finish. That's what we picked up the sod for. And we're gonna go grab some gravel, pack that in there real quick and be all done.
How was the week?
Geez. So We've had an issue where I'm contemplating letting one of our employees go, one of our newer employees. So we'll see. I'm gonna have that conversation after our conversation, and still milling over it right now. But besides that, it's okay.
Why do you want to let them go? And are you mostly mulling around it because of the timing of the year?
It's an interesting, like, the way things played out.
We're just finishing a sod job. Things happen really quickly. We had an employee who texted in the morning, said they would come in late, didn't come in, and then I didn't hear from him until the evening. Then the next day, texted sick again, didn't follow up with me until the evening.
There was a message from the employee that, oh, I'm not feeling well in the morning. And they said, I'll be in just a little bit late. I'm sleeping in. So I'm like, okay, just text me. So I went to the job. I kind of filled in that position for the employee. The employee didn't message me until that night, just never came in. You know, it was supposed to come in just a little bit late. Said, oh, I'll totally be in tomorrow. It's all good. And then it was like the next day, same thing, not feeling well. And that's all I got. And I was like, what does that mean? Are you wanting to sleep in or are you not coming in today? Didn't hear again until that evening.
Coincidentally, someone called looking for work in midday on that second day. So I did the interview, just trying to be proactive just in case the employee fell off and kind of ghosted us, which has happened to us before.
Around noon on that day, I was just kind of frustrated with the lack of communication. And I had been ghosted so many times at this point where I was like kind of freaking out. I'm like, I'm gonna start hiring. I'm gonna post on Indeed and do all that. And then I randomly got a call on that second day at noon. And someone's like, are you hiring? And I'm like, actually I am.
So I went through this entire interview with this person and they had a lot of experience and would be a good asset to our crew from what I could tell so far.
Met up for an interview later that day, did a working interview, and it's working out great.
Now I'm kind of in a pickle where I have to be decisive and decide, you know, do I draw a hard line on this type of stuff with an employee having that lack of communication and calling in sick, but not following up with kind of adequate notice as to when they're going to come in, and then we also have this other person who we've already interviewed and they've done a working interview now today and they're working out great. So that's a tough one.
Is this more of an ethical dilemma because you're concerned about the fact of whether the timing of the year is playing into this? Because from a business standpoint, it makes a lot of sense. Like, you found a better fit, you'd be able to make an example of this person in front of the rest of your team, and you've got a better working employee.
Yeah, so you've hit the nail on the head.
I do feel like I need to set a standard. And how much of a chance do you give somebody, right? Is it more of a pattern of behavior, or are there just these kind of hard rules that I need to follow?
I mean, I was told this week, oh, we think you're a little too nice sometimes. So I think that's a big sign that it's like, maybe I
agree. You know what's funny? When the media team came down for Zero Turn, that's what they said about you to me. They said, I think he's a little bit too nice.
I am kind of a people pleaser, so I mean, I get that part of it too.
I like to too, but like ultimately, like what we talk about all the time is like, you don't make a standard in business until you fire someone over that standard. Until then, it's just a suggestion. So if you want them to communicate well, if you want them to show up on time, that is a suggestion until you fire someone over that. Honestly, in my opinion, if you have a replacement, this is like a gift for you to be able to do this without hurting the business, and that is make an example of this person. And everyone that's currently there, maybe for the next 3 to 6 months, has a massive impact on them. This happening in the middle of spring rush, big problem. And I think if you don't cut it in the bud here, this happens in spring rush with another team member, and now you won't let them go because you need them. I think this is a teed up position, teed up ability to be able to make like an example of it.
I ended up letting go one of our employees. This employee just seemed like a good person, but again, we need that communication piece. So if that's lacking, it's just not going to work. And I'm hoping that that'll kind of show the rest of the crew the standard that I expect in terms of sick days and how to appropriately take off and communicate with me about it. But yeah, so that's never easy, letting someone go.
I have the trucks, I have the equipment, I just don't have the guys.
Last week, we caught up with David from Headband Movers, who was having a very hard time doing two things. Number one, it was hard to find employees and keep them for any meaningful amount of time.
He actually just sat down in my office the next day and then put in his 2 weeks notice.
And we talked about trying to pay them a percentage of the revenue of the job instead of just an hourly wage. When the crew is getting a percentage of the labor revenue, they will absolutely demolish other employees that make them late to the job because they're sitting in the truck not making any P for P. We'll see how that turned out. Secondly, he's having a hard time finding work in the middle of the month.
We had 0 jobs on the books.
Because people move in and move out a lot of times around the end of the month and the beginning of the month, but during the middle period, it gets very slow and it's very hard to find work.
Just trying to keep the crew busy. I didn't prepare for it to be so slow.
Let's find out today if we can find a solution for that problem.
We're going out to the Bandimere Speedway and we are gonna race
the big moving truck against a Ford Raptor. Looking forward to having some fun with the team. Looking forward to getting some content. After that, I'm going to be calling leads, following up with leads. I got a few in-home estimates, just trying to book as many jobs as I can today. The next 2 weeks are actually pretty slow, so the season's slowing down a little bit, so I really just got to step it up. Yeah, so I'm looking forward to the day. I'm sure the guys will all be positive, have great attitudes, because we're going to have some fun today.
Ladder on up, boys! It's race time! All right, go! Oh, the headband trucks are gonna get it! Let's go!
Going over my books. Today I'm going to open up the books to the team, sit down with them, giving them an idea of what the company is making, what the company is spending money on, what it just takes to operate the company. So I'm going to open up the books to the team. A little bit nervous about this. I've never done something like this before, but I think it's a good idea just to be transparent with the team.
But I did get the chance to sit down with my main lead and my dispatch manager, open up the books to them, and it went really well.
Cool. So what was their kind of reaction to that?
They were surprised about how much money it costs to operate the company.
Okay. And what were some of their questions they had when you did that?
They really didn't have a lot of questions. They were just more so surprised. I kind of explained to them while I was opening up the books, and I just said that we'd get the opportunity next week with the entire team to actually sit down and dig into it. And if they have any questions, they can just address it in front of everybody.
Today was a great day. Had the chance to talk about my books with a few of the guys on the crew. Everything went smooth. It was great to be transparent with the team. Looking forward to sitting down with the entire team to have a conversation about the company's books and what we're spending money on and how much money the company is making.
Did they change their behavior at all? Like, was it a matter, like, I feel like those are the guys who've already bought in, more or less the other crew members that are going to be the ones we're really trying to work on. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. They're both bought in. They're both solid. It would be when we get the group together, some of the newer guys, I think it would be really good for them.
I'm super happy that David has opened up the books for his higher level management team, but now he really needs to open up books to the full team to get the full impact of what open book management is all about, and that's clear, transparent communication with your team so they're able to see exactly how much money the business is making.
Did you share it with those guys just to kind of dip your toe in the water, feel more comfortable with doing that before you did it with the whole team next week?
Yeah, man, I was really nervous about just even opening up the books to anybody. Then having those initial conversations, I feel a lot more confident doing it. And I see now how beneficial it can be.
We talked last week a little bit about the potential of trying to pay the guys more of a percentage base instead of an hourly wage. Were you able to run any of the numbers in the back end or kind of seeing what that would potentially look like if we did that?
I've brought it up to like 3 of the guys already, and they're like, oh, okay, that sounds interesting. What would that mean? But I haven't had the chance to just really go into detail about it.
But if you keep seeding that to the guys, keep getting their feedback. I know even if it's something that you're kind of apprehensive about, or even just like you're not sure how that would work, if you can even get them to like, hey, we want to try it out. Let's see how that works. Try it out for a week and just see what that changes. But first, before we do that, we need a baseline. And that is, okay, how many hours were worked, divide by how much revenue was made. That's going to give us our effective hourly rate. And then take that number and divide it by what we charge per hour to the customer. That's going to essentially give us what percentage of our day is billable versus how much percentage of it is non-billable time.
I'm also hoping he can get to know these numbers so he can determine what his efficiency score is and determine whether or not a percentage-based pay system like P4Psoftware.com would be able to eliminate a lot of the waste that is in between jobs and be able to pay his employees more.
Until you actually their pay is based upon it, it doesn't move the needle. Like their behavior will not change on wasted time until their pay is. And then if you run a week and tell them, hey guys, I want to try this out. I want to see if you guys can make more money doing this. I want to give you guys a percentage of the revenue that you make in a day. And you can just say, hey, we're going to try it at 30%. Oh, and by the way, you can't make less than you make typically on hourly, just to give them the coverage for that week. Like, hey, for this 1 week, we're going to do this trial period. I want to see if you guys like it more, if you're able to make more money, and you can't make any less than you would on hourly. And if you do that for a week, and then all of a sudden you run that math, and it goes from what I believe is going to be like 70% efficiency to 85% efficiency, that is a lot. That'll be massive in terms of just profitability, and they'll be able to make more money.
I've turned down a lot of work.
In the last 3 days, I've turned about 15K down.
The business right now is not doing good. I know I have a lot of like nice shit, but I really don't have a lot of money in my bank account.
I don't think that Aaron is understanding the severity of all this debt. I am proud of him for overcoming drug abuse in the past, but I'm afraid that his addictive personality is coming to light in the form of overspending on excessive equipment he doesn't use all the time. Let's check back in and see if I can get through to him.
Tell me a little bit, Steven had said at one point you were really into the drug scene and all that sort of thing. What helped you get out of that?
Really what motivated me was having my daughter. I got into drugs because of depression, self-medicating. I sought help and it wasn't working. You know, they could only see me like once a month for 1 hour, and that just wasn't gonna cut it, you know, because I had some deep issues.
So you had your daughter and that was kind of like the wake-up call you needed.
Yeah, I didn't want to have this innocent child have a father that's like a deadbeat, you know. So yeah, I just, you know, suffered through it and got off of it.
Yeah, like, it's almost, the reason I asked is because like, there's a couple friends I have that I've seen, came out of that, and then they really got, instead of drugs, they started putting it on like other things. And what I don't want to see you do is put identity in the trucks and the equipment.
So would you be feeling different though if I had like $60,000 in the bank right now?
100%.
So I mean, you think it's a bad idea if I take on more debt?
I would.
Yeah.
You need to have a confessional right now, bro?
Yeah, well, because I want to get another truck. I'm waiting for it to be built. Another
No!
50.
No! You already have the order in?
Yeah, I put it in last year. But this truck's cheaper. Check it out. This truck is MSRP, so I don't have to overpay for this truck. So I could actually sell that truck for more once I get it.
Okay, but are you going to sell it?
No.
That's the whole point. How much is it worth?
It's like a $90,000 truck. It's just an identical truck to what I have now, you know, when it's made, when Ford gets around to making it. But hopefully by then I'm in a better situation.
I know, but
I'll have 60 grand in the bank. How about that?
This is seriously like almost like the drug thing, because it's like I'm always gonna get better. I'm gonna get out of this. I can control this, and it's like this is just as bad as drugs. It's like a financial drug of like you can always take more debt to get the business keep going on forward. Yeah. But like ultimately you can build a $5 million business, but if there's so much debt, there'll be no profit, and it'll just be a bigger mistake. And so I would not be happy with that. There needs to be a spending freeze. There does.
For what, a year?
There's no, until you have X amount in the bank and until the business is doing X amount in revenue. I would feel more comfortable if you said, I will not have any more debt until $100,000 per month in monthly revenue. All right, and 50 grand in the bank.
All right. Yeah, that's good.
We need those things. We need 50 grand in the bank, and we need 100,000 plus in monthly revenue. I think you can do 100,000 plus in monthly revenue probably next spring. Yeah. That's not going to be the hard one. The hard part is, can you put the 50 grand in the bank to feel a little more comfortable, so that when things come up, they just do. Yeah. Like we weren't expecting your daughter to have this. We weren't expecting the dental thing. Like that stuff just pops up. Yeah. But that can put you out of business when you're running the margins and the cash so low. Yeah. Okay. So next week we're switching to Jobber, or like we're going to be working on that.
100%. Yeah. Okay. I'm going to do my best. Yeah.
Okay. And then
take a couple of days off.
Let's look at 2023, because this is our last week. We got to look at 2023 and put together the plan of revenue per month, profit per month, and cash in the bank. That's the only three numbers I want for like every month. Number, like top line revenue, what you're gonna hit from January to December, the profit from each of those months, and then how much is in the bank account. Like literally you could burn tomorrow and it would be okay. And if you get to 50 grand in the bank on that bottom part, we can get a truck. I approve. I approve.
Cool.
All right?
Cool, man.
Sound good.
All right, thanks, brother.
I cannot believe that he's literally buying another truck or thinking about it or has plans to do it. It's insanity. So I think we got to a good place though in terms of he has to grow the business. It's either that or he's got to cut out the project side, which is creating so much of this debt. And he's got to disconnect himself from growing the business and debt being correlation. It is not correlative. He needs to grow the business and fill capacity for this chipper that he's paid $78,000 for, this truck that he's paid $150,000 for. You got to fill the capacity before you keep growing. You don't need more debt. Debt and growth do not need to correlate.
Tell us why debt is bad for business.
I think it forces people to make short-term decisions if they made debt obligations that they can't actually be able to run a profitable business for and pay for the debt. I'm not against debt. Almost every business that's massive has a lot of debt. But when it becomes a point where it cannot sustain the business, I have a problem with that. $300,000 of debt, $2,000 in the bank.
He does make a valid point. Aaron went against what you said, and he bought another F-450.
Which I disagree with dramatically, and we are trying to work with him on these things.
I also asked him today, I'm like, Aaron, you already have a 450. Why did you get another one? I don't know. I couldn't answer the question.
This is the problem that I have with projects.
Yeah.
20 to 30% of his revenue is project-based. The other 70 to 80% is mowing and recurring maintenance. And yet, he has $300,000 worth of debt, all of which is big trucks, a tree chipper, and track loader, I think.
So most of his money is made on mowing lawns?
70 to 80%.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Now,
I thought he was a tree guy.
He does believe the upside is in the trees.
Yeah.
And so that's why he's got this massive chipper. Yeah. But I don't believe you need a $75,000 chipper to get started in tree chipping.
Mike is a bare bones kind of guy.
I believe that if you have $2,000 in your bank and $300,000 of debt, it's a bad business decision.
That's what we say, a bad offer.
But for someone like Aaron, like his goal is to grow, right? And what we told him is like, hey, look, if you're gonna have that much debt and have all this big equipment, you've got to use it. Yeah. You've got to scale up the project side. But it's actually worth having a massive truck, right? So that's his goal. He wants to scale up massively.
Yeah.
I got some bad news. It looks like my schedule on my reminders app, the 230 jobs that I have scheduled, somehow connected to the airplane's time that's in Hawaii or something. I don't know. But the entire schedule is like a day off than what it should be. I got jobs that are scheduled for tomorrow. It says they're supposed to be done today, but I know that they're really tomorrow's jobs. I got estimates on Sunday evening. It says they're supposed to be due tomorrow. So I got to call back customers. I got to input them in the schedule, but I'm concerned that it's not going to get fixed. I'm hoping it will just update and get fixed here in the next hour or two. I've already rebooted my phone. That hasn't helped out, but that's a good reason why I need to switch to Jobber. This last week, I asked two guys specifically, they're bilingual, to make videos. One guy made videos for 2 of the days. He's supposed to do it every day. They worked every day. The other guy, he didn't make any videos. He kind of blew it. If this kid would have made the videos, he would have made more money. I would have given this guy a raise because I knew that he could listen. That's not gonna fly, you know? I don't know, have a talk with this guy, or I think I'm more leaning towards just finding his replacement. People need to be able to listen, follow direction. I mean, I didn't ask him to jump off a bridge. I asked him to make a video. Ulises, did you make a video? Did you make a video? Did you make a video? It's not funny. I told you several times. Crew A got back earlier today. The only problem I'm having is I'm not making any money with Crew B. Zero, negative money. And that's just not gonna fly. I'm gonna let them know that I'm gonna have to start getting rid of them. I'm in this business to make money. I know the jobs that they're doing. Even if I increase by 20%, I would still be negative. They're little dinker jobs, you know. They're like, honestly, you know, 2 guys could have done these jobs and should have been done by now, but there's 4 of them and they're not done. So there's definitely inefficiencies. You know, I carry the most powerful backpack blowers. They'll do the job, you know, just blow it, get it done. You move on to the next one. The blower's not going to do a half-assed job. You don't need to turn over the rock with the blower. I'm in the position I'm in, and then I'm losing money. So hopefully this meeting goes well. Hopefully they pick up their pace and still do quality work. Hopefully they get it. If not, I'm going to have to get rid of some of them. So the next couple hours, I got a softball game I'm going to tonight. We're getting ready to have a talk. Necesito habla. So I write things on the schedule, right? And they have to be followed. And if you have a question and you don't understand the schedule, then call me. You guys did very little jobs today. I knew what was on the schedule as far as jobs that you guys had. And I feel like you guys would have been able to complete the jobs today. And we need to pick up the pace. As far as today goes, I lost around $300. So even though I got paid from all the customers, Like I have to take out like $300 on my wallet to pay you guys. It's little inefficiencies to speed up the day, you know? If the yard looks pretty good as blowing, just blow it real quick so it looks like we cleaned up, but every leaf doesn't have to be cleaned up. That way I can actually make money. That's the purpose of this. The business right now is not doing good. I know I have a lot of like nice shit, but I really don't have a lot of money in my bank account. If I felt like I couldn't succeed, I wouldn't have bought this truck.
Last week on Business Bootcamp, we talked to Carter, who was really trying to focus on raising his prices at Rough Cuts Lawn Care down in California. You'll always find information and data to prove to why you should not raise prices. Now, he needed to raise his prices because he's making very little profit, and yet he's working 60, 70, 80 hours a week out in the field trying to grow his business, and he's doing a good job of it. If you don't raise prices, like something's gonna break eventually because you're working like crazy hours and there's no profit. Literally since the beginning of the boot camp, he's already going to increase the revenue he thought he was gonna make by over 50%.
For me, answering my phone meant I got a job.
However, he's hitting capacity limits. He needs another truck, while at the same time, there's equipment he's not using and he owes debt on. So let's talk about that today.
Just keep mulling over the meeting I had with Mike a couple days ago. A lot of good key points I took away from it. Biggest one is maybe not raising my prices so much on existing accounts. Obviously, if they're unprofitable, raising the price, but just because winter time is really when I make my profit on accounts because there's not as much to do. Mike did recommend me getting another truck this year.
And have you already started looking at trucks? I know you're kind of thinking about buying one towards the end of the year. We're still a couple months out from that. But what are you thinking?
I haven't yet. I own a 96 Tacoma, so I was thinking of just keeping that truck for the moment, just so I have something to use. Because the more I'm realizing it, I need a truck right now.
Well, yeah, I guess like the Toyota Tacoma would probably work for a while with the smaller jobs, right? But like, what do you think about if you sold the mowers now, got rid of that debt and just converted that over into a truck now?
I wouldn't be opposed to that. I just need to get it listed. That's one of my things on the list to do this weekend. I just don't know how well it's going to sell.
So how much do you owe on that one?
It's like 13 or 14.
How much do you think you can get for it? Like 10?
See, I have no clue. I haven't even looked at it. I don't know. I mean, it's got 45 hours on it and it's 4 months old.
I'm super excited for Carter because he's growing the business literally 30-40% in the past few months. He's growing it very quickly, and for a lot of people, they'd be wondering, why do I tell one person to slow down growth and pay off debt, someone like Aaron, versus for Carter, I'm telling him to grow, expand, go ahead and get another debt on a truck. The time of where you're at in life and where you're at in the business is very important in terms of the decisions and the advice that you have to take when it comes to your business.
For this week, let's try to get that sold. Even if you take a little bit of a loss on it, I don't mind.
I'm not worried about a good month.
Yeah, take a little bit of a loss if we have to, but just get another truck, because the truck's going to allow us to keep this pace. Like, you really, in my opinion, can't do a whole lot more than 35 to 40 grand a month with 2 trucks. Like, you're hitting capacity, right?
Yeah.
And so, and if you going into the winter in your market, you can continue to grow it. And if it's still coming to you in terms of the project side, and we're going to be raising the prices, we already know come spring for the mowing side, I'm fine with taking on a little bit of debt for the truck.
For Carter, he has cash in the bank. He's very young. There's not much to lose. And for him to grow the business is a very wise decision. And taking an extra $15,000 or $20,000 debt, I'm okay with that. The type of truck that he's looking for is not a $100,000 truck. If one of those trucks was sitting around for 2 or 3 days a week, I would definitely not be telling him to go buy more trucks and equipment.
Next spring, like a lot of these manufacturers are starting to get a lot of inventory in right now, and they're going to be bulking up on it over the winter. So I have a feeling you might actually get more for it now than you would next spring, especially if we go into any sort of like recession. Like, they're just all going to start slashing prices. And so your mower might be worth $2,000 or $3,000 more now compared to next spring if we wait. Okay. So, even if you did sell it for, 11, 12, and then you have to cover a little bit, just so that your debt to income ratio is good enough to where you're able to get the loan for the truck. Because that's probably my only concern, is they're going to be looking at debt to income ratio, and that potentially could swing them in one direction.
But if you're at full capacity, using those vehicles and those trucks and your employees every single day to their maximum extent, the only limiting factor is literally getting more trucks, equipment, and hiring more people. If you can take those limiting factors away, literally Carter could go to $50,000, $60,000 per month in revenue in just a matter of a couple months.
But I think regardless, like the way you're growing, and the fact that like we know that we're going to be raising prices in February on the mowing side of things, I'm okay with you getting the truck now regardless, honestly. And at the very worst, we make the 96 Tacoma kind of work for a bit, you know? They're built like tanks. You literally could potentially use that as kind of your estimate truck until the day it dies. And then, you know, small little projects here and there if you can, just to kind of ease up on the schedule.
Come spring, when he raises prices on his mowing customers, he's literally going to be doing 60 to 80,000 per month in revenue next spring.
So far with Google Ads, I just started to set up a Google Performance Max campaign. Are you familiar with that? Or
Dylan is preparing his business to double in size next year. He has finally been able to run a Google Performance Max ad to reach more customers. But finding a new shop space is crucial if he's going to reach his goals next spring.
Okay, cool. It actually has some traffic. Good stuff.
It's starting to get a little traction.
Yeah, no, you got 15 clicks. You're spending $10 a day, so you've probably only spent $20. So you're spending about $1.20, $1.30 a click right now, assuming that's been up for 2 days, which is just fine. Oh, here we go. Yeah, $2.64. Yeah, $2.64 cost per click. That's not bad. Then it's just a matter of down the road, if you can put that code into the page where you send people once they get they submit an estimate, that would be helpful. So that way you have another number in here, which is actually the cost per lead, not just the customer, cost per click, cost per lead, customer acquisition cost, right? So we already know what a cost per click is. Then we can figure out cost per lead once we have that tracking code in there.
So you feel like this is a good first step in terms of being able to ramp up my marketing for next season and keep us all busy?
Yeah, ultimately, like if you did $10 a day, that's only $300 a month, right? I would want you to next spring, because you have the cash, like this. It's very infrequently that you have the amount of cash that you have. You should not be afraid to spend $1,000 to $2,000 a month. No problem. And if you do that, you will double the size of the business. I would really be shooting for it. If you're going to be aggressive with it, and I think you need to be aggressive. If you're putting Michael and Jose into these positions, your overhead's probably going to go up by about 50 to 60,000. And the reason I'm not including their entire wage is because Jose is going to be out in the field producing revenue. But let's say $60,000, it goes up. You need to produce probably $250,000 in revenue just to cover that extra overhead. You really got to grow by at least 200,000 in revenue. I think that happens almost organically without advertising, but to really scale it up and take use of this infrastructure that we've built, you can easily get past 800,000 with this infrastructure of you at the top, Michael as the admin office side, and Jose as the training and the field side of things.
So I'm super happy that Dylan has ironed out some of the kinks in the leadership and the organization so he can continue to scale the business next year. And he's figured out how to do advertising and actually ramp up the business. Now we've really got to focus on shop space. He can't keep operating the business out of his own house. He's gonna run into a lot of issues. He get reported by the city and get shut down. Can't have that happen if he's gonna try to double the business and almost do $1 million in revenue next year.
Shop space. We gotta talk about this. So
that was my next question.
Yeah, let's rock and roll. What's up? Have you looked at a couple spaces or not really?
What's a good first step? Is it like a storage unit for next year for any new trucks and trailers? And then eventually, when I'm big enough, just get everything out to an actual property somewhere? Or, I mean, what would you suggest?
Anything is better than what you have now. Like, you can't grow next year without it. Like, this is a bottleneck that has to be moved by next spring. You can get all the infrastructure in the world with Jose and Michael, but you can't keep doing what you're doing from where you're currently at. Like, you can't double in size. Try doing this, and that is, try to go onto some of the local Facebook groups, even like the top 3 or 4 in your local area. You could even try next door. And I would just post in there, be like, hey, I'm from Augusta Lawn Care. I need space to park about 4 to 5 trucks, or you could say 6, whatever you think you're going to need next year. But basically, you're just posting and saying like, hey, this is what I need. I'm looking to spend about X amount, right? And you just go on your lower end so you have room to negotiate up if you need to. But like, I wouldn't try to go right now for like necessarily a land where you can dump and have like lots of space. Don't go for that yet. That will be something that will come to you over the next year or two. It'll look like fall into your lap, like find a customer, there'll be a big barn area or whatever. But I would prefer right now just like literally making a post on several Facebook groups next door saying, hey, my name's Dylan with Augusta Lawn Care. Here's my link to my website. I'm legit.
I'm Dylan from Urban Roots Landscaping, not Augusta.
Oh, well, your website still looks good, so it'll still work. But again, you're looking for literally someone that has like 5 acres. They have a construction company, a power line company, a plumbing company, whatever. And there's like, yeah, you can use the back space, no problem. And a lot of times they have like power already to the property. They already have an outhouse, plug and play for you. And then for them, it's an extra $1,000 in the bank. And then make sure you at least have a picture, potentially a video of you and your crew, so they at least build some trust. Like just your logo, just your website alone. Be like, okay, this is a professional, operation, and they'll treat you with respect and they'll actually trust you more.
Back in Denver, David has been able to get more leads to fill his schedule. However, he doesn't have the employees to help him. He's leaving a lot of money on the table and is looking to find short-term employees.
I've turned down a lot of work over the last like 4 days. There's just a huge demand increase, and we can't service all these leads that are coming in. Really unfortunate. So I got to put together a game plan. Maybe it's I bring on contractors or something just to figure out how I can service these customers that are coming in. And they're big jobs, they're money jobs, and I'd really just like to be able to book these jobs. So I got to figure something out for the end of the month just to be able to service more jobs and make more money.
Leaving a lot of money on the table right now for the last 2 weeks of the month and then the first week of the new month. Right now, in the last 3 days, I've turned about 15K down in jobs. I have the trucks, I have the equipment, I just don't have the guys. What do you recommend as far as convincing like a private contractor or just like a part-time guy to be willing to want to work only 2 weeks out of the month or 3 weeks out of the month?
Have you ever tried to run an ad for like a 2 or 3 week position?
Never, no.
Give it a shot. I think you might be surprised at how many people are actually looking for short-term gigs like that, and literally just post on Craigslist and Facebook and say, hey, we're looking for the next 2 to 3 weeks. You're going to be getting a minimum of 40 hours. We give a percentage of our revenue so you can make up to X. So that way in your ad, this is why switching to percentage base is powerful. So now in your ad, you can pitch that 2 to 3 week window of time when you're busy and pitch it as, make $18 to $24 an hour. And guess what? Everyone thinks they're high performers. They're looking at $24 per hour in their mind.
Cool. I'll start tackling it tomorrow.
I'm really interested to see if hiring people for just 2 or 3 weeks and putting those out as job postings will work, because if it does, it'll solve this issue that he has every single month of being busy for 2 or 3 weeks, followed by 1 or 2 weeks of it being really slow.
And then right now, in terms of from the marketing standpoint, what are we working on to try to drum up the work? I know we're kind of coming to the end of the month anyways, but in terms of that middle of the month, what's sort of the strategy we've been working on so far?
Yeah, so I've been targeting commercial leads, and then we've been following up with some commercial buildings doing flyers. We've had 1 lead generated for a small office move, which is great. It's better than nothing, but we're still not generating leads for those commercial moves. It's just going to take some time with the Google ads and everything. So the strategy is just continue to do promo with my team. They've hit 100 plus apartment buildings in the last 4 days. They've made some really good connections with some apartment managers.
I wanted to mention, I did some numbers last night. Just off the top of my head, what I did last night off of a few accounts, I currently have $37,000 that's owed to me. That really changes the scenario once I get those funds. Mike said he would feel a whole lot different, if I had $60,000 in the account. Well, I asked him that question yesterday. That's, I don't know if it's just me, but I'm not super stressed out about it. It is stressful, but what can you do? You just got to roll with it. If I felt like I couldn't succeed, I would make changes. I would definitely make changes. I'd get rid of the truck. If I felt like I couldn't succeed, I wouldn't have bought this truck. Same thing with the chipper. You got to push yourself if you want to get better. If you want to be here, you got to get something to be there. You got to do something to get there, and I'm using the skills that I know, determination, hard work, the little intelligence that I have, I'm trying to piece it together, learn from you guys, learn from Mike, learn from Tigran, learn from all the other guys in the networking group. I know a couple guys, in Goat Gang, they hit me up. I got to call them back. I'm sure they're concerned for my well-being. I'm going to give them a call back and see what's going on. But yeah, I don't think it's a bluff, man. I think I can make it happen. I really do.
Next week on Business Bootcamp.
See this $100 right here? I'm gonna look on the camera system and see who snagged the $100 bill, testing people's integrity.
Other shop spaces I've looked at have just been not great.
I ended up taking the COVID test, and sure enough, it was positive. We're gonna have some fun in Vegas, and then it's right back to work.
What do we see on the truck here, you guys?
Actually kind of sad. It's like a breakup.
Would you like your business to be on the next season of Business Bootcamp? Take your company to the next level in 30 days by going to mikeandys.com/bootcamp and apply today.
I would prefer him to have a rope. I'm not sure if you guys can see me gimping, but I want to tell you guys a sad story. Last night, I was playing softball, hit a ground ball, went to beat out the throw. I did beat out the throw. I was running like Usain Bolt to first base, and pop!
my hamstring just snapped. Yeah, I had to sit out the rest of the game. It's towards the end. Hopefully it just heals up on its own in a matter of like 6 weeks, and I'm back at it. So have a good day, guys. Bye.